Already, we are live. Still 1 minute to 8:30 here in Eastern Standard Time, and I believe it's early morning at India.
Yes, quite an early morning, not bright yet. The sun is still sleeping on the other
Sun
end.
is still rising. Yeah,
Not, yeah, about to rise here.
let's wait for 1 minute and get going. Okay,
All right.
let's wanna get good. Yeah, let's get started.
Okay, great. So let's start in a different way today, Aniket. Let me
Sure.
throw you a number.
Uh huh.
Let's say 56%. What do you think about that?
Wow, 56. What's that?
Okay, so 56% of
Uh-huh.
consumers, of customers, of our SMB friends who are listening in are going to switch brands. They are going to the leave being customers without even telling them why in the next 6 months. There won't be any complaints, no angry emails, no star reviews, no reviews. They'll just leave. You know?
Wow, and that's the silent killer right there, right?
Yeah,
So you're running your business, you think everything is fine because nobody is complaining, and you find out that meanwhile more than half of your unhappy customers are already shopping at your competitors' counter, right?
exactly. Yeah. And today on this podcast, we are exactly going to unpack that. We don't, we began with sort of a shocker, sort of a number out there, which is going to put some thought in our listeners' minds on how important this topic is going to be, how important this aspect is going to be. So, welcome to this podcast for today. We are calling it Repeat Business Blueprint. Okay, so, now we can start with our introductions now that we have, especially here in India, jolted everyone out of their slumber and out of their sleep. So, welcome to the podcast again. My name is Shantanu Kilkar. I am the founder and principal consultant at 1.618 Business Consulting. About 20 plus years of experience working with automation companies such as Emerson Process Management and Honeywell Automation. And these days, with my consulting firm, I work with small Indian businesses, even large businesses to some extent, working on their growth issues, working on their growth objectives, developing their business plans and deploying them, helping them in execution of those plans. So this is the 26th episode of our podcast series that we do here with Aniket. It's been a good journey so far, and look forward to another exciting episode on this topic, which is again very close to our hearts and very pertinent, very important for our listeners from the MSME and the SMB sectors as well. Right, Aniket?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, everyone. As yeah, you already know me, but for the folks who are joining or listening to this podcast as a uh, new member, I am Aniket Vaksore. My background is in supply chain and operations, ex Amazon, ex Cummins, and I've managed like complex programs from 50 to $100 million, and actually spent 15 years figuring out how to make system works better. I would say make the process efficiencies better. And Today we are applying a similar, that operation lens to something every SMB owner loses their sleep over. So before going in deep about my profile, which you already know, I want to deep dive into the topic today. Let's get started. Shantanu, what do you
Yeah,
think?
right. So this thing is all about customer retention. It is an art of making people come back. It's actually, you will see as we discuss this, it's an art that can be executed in form of a science. It has we are going to give you a proper framework for executing that. And it's not just a theoretical exercise, even for us. We are talking to MSME owners here in India, out there in the US. Aniket has been doing that, who are running 15 people, 30 people manufacturing units, or they are a boutique retailer shop somewhere in a tier 1 or a tier 2 city in India, or they could be a software as a service startup somewhere, they could be a restaurant owner. All of them, we are going to talk about them, the crux of the small and medium businesses.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And and here is why this topic is urgent right now. Um, acquisition costs have gone through the roof. If you've seen,
Mm,
recently, we have seen that data that says acquisition costs have climbed 222% since 2013. So not
mm,
like 13, 14 years ago. If you looked at the data, that spike is crazy. And there was a study done by Simplicity 2024. This research shows that the CAC, customer acquisition cost, uh, have jumped to that 22% because of the median cost, to acquire, suppose $1 of new recurring revenue, it hit like $2 in 2024.
mm,
That's a SaaS performance metric survey.
right.
It's mind
So
blowing. So think about that for a second.
it is, which in other words means that every rupee you're spending chasing new customers is getting more expensive. It's getting more competitive and less efficient. Your customers, on the other hand, meanwhile, um, it is, again, this is coming from a Bain and Co research that has been repeatedly validated. Your customers who already are with you,
Yes,
even a
yes,
5% improvement in keeping them can actually boost your profits by 25 to 95%. So that's the impact that it can have, just focusing on the customers that you have, trying to retain them on one hand, versus uh, trying to acquire new customers whose cost has gone up twice in the last decade itself. So that's again a very different way of looking at it and really hits you hard.
yes, yes. And let that land, 5% retention improvement. It's like 25 to 95% profit increase. And if you think about those numbers, those are not startup fantasy numbers.
Hmm.
That's a Harvard Business Review research, basically from 1990, but revalidated by Qualtrics as recently as 2025, as of last year. So those are the actual research numbers, updated research numbers.
Right. And despite this, only 18% of companies invest in retention than acquisition. So relatively
Yeah.
or comparably between their costs in retention and costs in acquisition, only 18% of companies have more retention costs uh, than acquisition costs. So 82% of companies are still spending more time, effort, money going behind new customers than thinking about
Correct.
what their existing customer base wants. That's the gap that we are going to close today.
Huge gap. Yeah. Let's look at this slide, right? Repeat framework. So Shantanu, like when we titled this slide,
Mm,
"Repeat Business Blueprint," it was a, I think, we made it very deliberate because we are not talking about customer satisfaction. That's a feeling, right? We are
mm,
talking about a repeat behavior,
easy.
because if you think about that for a second, it's a revenue, right? You need to shift your focus from a feeling to an actual number that matters.
Correct.
So the behavior, actually, the repeat behavior, that's what generates the revenue.
No, that's quite well said, because that feeling isn't measurable; it's amorphous. Whereas
Correct.
what we are going to talk about today is actually going to convert into sales. It's going to convert into hard numbers for our listeners. And the word
Yes.
blueprint also matters, I feel, in this case, because we are going to talk about a system, not ideas or not just motivation. As I said, it's not just artistic expression. It's going to be science. It's going to be a system. By the end of this episode, you'll have a framework we created as Aniketu put it, the repeat framework. Six pillars and a 30, 60, 90-day action plan that you can start deploying today. Today being Monday for us, so it's that practical. You can start deploying starting tomorrow morning in the US. So that's the
Absolutely. And
that
when
is going to be.
right. And if you are running a 50 lakh business or a 10 crore operation,
Hmm,
I think the principles remain the same. The tools scale, and this math that we are gonna explain that does work.
hmm, right. So let's look
So
into
let's
that.
get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right. This is this slide. Uh, the bottom line. Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So this is
Bottom
what we
line.
usually start with, the bottom line upfront, the plug. Because if you are an SMB owner, you don't have time for a slow builder. There are we in this bluff, you'll see there are four things you need to know before anything else. The number one factor is the retention multiplier. As we said, acquiring a new customer is going to cost you 5 to 25% or times, in fact, more than keeping an existing one. So if we put that in the India context, if your customer acquisition cost through your Google Ads or your sales teams or your social media campaigns, if that is costing you, let's say, 2,000 rupees per customer, then your retention cost is probably just 100 to 500 rupees. So that's the difference, that's the spread. And it usually, again, this is coming from a research by Artisan Growth Strategies. The data that they developed or they came up with through their research shows that the customer acquisition cost ranges from 200 to $1,500 versus the retention cost of 15 to $85 per customer. And for Indian SMEs, the ratio holds. So the, the dollar spread was for the US customers, but even for Indian SMEs, the ratio still holds, because even in India, the digital ad costs are rising quite steeply, while
Absolutely.
WhatsApp SMS retention costs remain minimal, and that's the preferred
Yeah,
media of engagement still for a lot of MSMEs with their customers.
absolutely. Yeah. And that's where, here is what makes this even more powerful. The probability of selling to an existing customer, that's somewhat between 80 to 60 to 70%. But selling to a brand new prospect, 5 to 20%,
Mm,
that's not a small difference. If you just think about it, right? That's a completely different business model.
correct.
Uh, if you
Yes,
think of from a broader perspective.
exactly. It's likely that out of the 100 customers that you have, 70 are going to
Yeah,
buy from you if you are doing well. And out of the unknown customers that you haven't yet served, if you try to reach out to 100 customers, then only 20 might actually convert to being your customers. So that's the difference that you get
correct.
there. Right. So then number two is the silent churn crisis. Now, this is something that usually keeps every business owner up at night. Even the clients that I work with, this is number one problem for them. So you mentioned, Aniket, that 56% of customers are not going to be, be buying from you again, and they're not even going to complain. They're not even going to tell you that they are not going to buy. So to add to that, there is again a research from Bain and Co. that says that 70% of silent churners show NPS decay, which is the Net Promoter Score decay, the customer satisfaction score decay, which means that their satisfaction is dropping 6 to 9 months before they actually leave you. So there are signs always on the horizon. You just need to look for
Excuse me.
them. Yes, obviously. You just need to be aware of those changes in behavior from the customer's point of view, and you will not miss that. Uh, you know, you will the earlier you detect that, the slower or lesser will be that churn.
Absolutely. And the signals are there. The data, it's right in front of you. It's screaming at you. But most SMBs, they don't have the system to hear it. There was a Gartner's 2024 survey that found 43% of the churned B2B customer never voice concerns before leaving.
Mm,
And there was a Covio Zendesk 2024 report. It cited 56% of the consumers quietly switch. They don't let you know like what is wrong with your all. They just quietly switch. So the old 96% don't complain statistics from first financial training services. That's widely cited, but it does lack uh, verifiable methodology.
mhm,
So and then these newer figures, they are more reliable,
mm.
more trustable.
Yeah, and we also think about it. Let's say we take a business as an example. Let's say you are a restaurant owner in Chennai. You have 200 regular customers. Now, if 56% of those unhappy customers, they just stop coming to your restaurant without even saying a word, without telling you why, you won't even know that there is a problem on your hand until your monthly revenue starts coming down 15% or more, and then you're scrambling uh, for things on what might have gone wrong and why is it that this is your revenue is seeing such a drop. So it could actually hit you uh, when, or you would realize when it is already too late.
Hmm. And that's exactly that brings up to the number three point that we're going to talk about. It's a personalization imperative. There was a McKinsey report 2021,
Mm,
next in personalization study. It does still hold a gold standard. More lot of the people actually do follow that report. And that study found out that personalization delivers 10 to 15% revenue left,
mm,
and 71% of the consumers now expect brands to know them personally.
yeah. And when we tell that, companies or listeners here, they will be thinking that personalization sounds like a big company thing, like a big corporate thing. But I am running a small team. I'm running just a 15-member team. So how is it relevant for me? But here's the thing, right? And we have examples, real world examples where this has worked for companies. A case in point is an Indian MSME called Heroes Superfoods in Lucknow, in Uttar Pradesh, north part of India. And they sell diabetic friendly superfoods. They build their entire retention strategy on WhatsApp. So they
Wow.
on their WhatsApp groups they usually give personalized nutritional tips, uh, and that leads to their abandoned cart recovery to within 15 to 20 minutes. So usually what people do is, um, they go to the cart, they look up the products, they add a few products to the cart, but then they have a sort of a rethink and then they abandon the cart. Now, they are this particular company were able to force the customer, or drive the customer towards completing that procedure, towards completing that buying process within 15 to 20 minutes. So
Wow.
that's the kind of efficiency that they achieved. They have a 24/7 AI chatbot, and with all of this, with such simple tools, the result was that they had 40% increase in overall sales. 25% of their customers are now repeat customers, and they recovered 40% of their abandoned cards. 40 to 60% click-through rates on WhatsApp messages versus 20% that we usually get on an average on emails. Right? So they reached profitability for
Wow.
a startup to do that. It's an amazing achievement, and they are now also raising pre-series, Series A funding. That's a good, great
Seriously,
example for you.
that's absolute 40% sales increase. That's
Yeah,
like massive. And then 25% more repeat customer. Well, if you think like it's this is Silicon Valley stuff. It is not. It is Lucknow,
it is
and this is on WhatsApp in India.
correct,
It's
exactly.
like
Yeah, so things are happening, and that's
it
the
is.
critical insight here is really, the service quality matters. Poor service, usually, and not price, is number one reason why customers are leaving you. Again, this is all coming from research. We are not just building numbers and data in the air.
From thin air.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bain and Co. found that customers are 4 times more likely to defect over a service failure than a pricing issue. That's that's the
Wow.
that's the number that they have
That's
come up
that's
with.
astonishing. And that is what we need to drive that point home. Like, it's where the research gets really interesting. CEB, now a partner of Gartner, they found out that 96% of those high effort customers become disloyal versus just 9% of low effort ones. So the game, it is not about delighting the people. The game is about making things easy.
Easy. Yeah.
You know,
So effort reduction, in fact, is your highest ROI ever, and
absolutely.
that's the lever that you can use. Don't think about discounts. Don't Not just loyalty points. Just make it easy to buy from you. Just make it effortless to buy from you. Just make it easy to get support and easy to come back for the customer back to you. That's the that's the crux. That's going to give you the highest returns over the long run. All right. So we spoke about the repeat framework earlier, and that is the heart of today's episode. In fact, this is a proprietary framework again that we built specifically for our listeners, for Indian MSMEs, for small and medium businesses. We are calling it repeat, REPEAT, because that's what you literally want to do with the customer. Want your customers to do. They repeat their buying behavior with you, repeat their purchase with you, and come back to you every time after they have made a purchase. So let's dive into that.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are six pillars. Each one is actionable. Each one is affordable too, right? So let me walk through them one by one. The first one is R, recover fast. So basically, when something goes wrong, and more likely or not it will, so your recovery speed defines whether that customer stays or goes,
Hmm.
right? So basically, we recommend a three-step complaint SOP, standard operating procedure.
Hmm.
First is acknowledge within hours, not days, within hours. Resolve within a day where possible,
Hmm.
and then always close the loop with a follow-up.
Right.
So it is recover fast. Basically, acknowledge it, resolve it, and close the loop with a follow-up.
Right.
And all that has to be done within a day. So acknowledge it within hours, resolve it within a day, and then close the loop immediately.
Really. Yeah, exactly. And again, this is all backed by research. There's a good research behind this. It's called uh, service recovery paradox. Hospitality research in the hospitality sector, they have consistently shown that a well-handled complaint can actually create stronger loyalty than if nothing had gone wrong in the first place. So
Hmm.
it paradoxically to think about it that if things are not going wrong, customers are still going versus if things go wrong and if you respond to that particular complaint or to that particular event well, then the customer retention rates are actually higher. So
Yep.
it is coming from documented research. It's a peer-reviewed research from the hospitality sector, and it is supported by meta-analysis in the Journal of Service Research. So it, it shows effectively that good recovery builds deeper trust. So the practical SMB implication is that design for fast recovery, acknowledge, solve, and follow up on that, all in a day
Follow up.
as adequately it is put there.
Absolutely, Shantanu. And I want to mention that emphasize one keyword there is well handled. Right? If you mess up the recovery, you've lost them twice. So the SOP matters, right? Authorize your frontline staff to offer small compensation. If you mess up,
Mm.
right, and if you acknowledge it, let them offer like 200 rupees credit, a free item, whatever your economics allows, without waiting for manager approval. If you wait it, and if you lose their trust anyway, right? You wait for too long, you already lost that customer, and that problem is gonna get cascaded.
Exactly, and that's
So,
what the
you
customers
know,
are going to hate most.
yes,
They have complained, and on your end, you are stuck in that bureaucracy. Uh, that
yeah,
I'll ask my manager and then let you know. Let me come back to you after some days or whatever that time is. That's where you're losing that trust. So
yes,
pillar number two here, that's called E, effort reduction. Uh, Again, what it means is first thing that you need to do is map your customer touch points. Every customer touch point that you have in your process, map it from the moment they find you on Google to the moment they get their product or service from you. Map the entire process, and then you can ask one question at each point, which is how hard is this for the customer to do? At every touch point, how hard has been that interaction? That's the question that you need to ask at every touch point.
yeah. And then metric you want here is the customer effort score,
Mm,
basically a CS. Like, it's a simple post interaction question. How easy was this?
right.
And there has been a research on this. It shows the CS is a stronger predictor of the loyalty than the traditional CSAT service. Basically, what you're doing is, you're reducing the friction
Mm,
in more actionable way than trying to delight people at scale. Simple as that. So this research that we were mentioning, right, the Gartner research,
mm,
we'll put those links in the show notes or maybe in our appendix section of the our presentation. But that research does show that the CS is 48% more predictive of customer loyalty than CSAT.
mm,
Basically, the customer effect score is more predictable, right? And that's why the for SMBs with the limited resources, the CES score, effort score, that is the gold standard.
indeed,
Like, fix fiction before you invest in delight.
indeed, indeed. So that takes us to the next pillar, which is the P in the repeat framework. Uh, we are
Yes.
calling it personalize relentlessly. So the nuance there is that you should look at personalization not by demographics but by behavior. So you shouldn't care if the customer is of a certain demographic, it's in a certain age bracket or coming from a particular region. You shouldn't care about that. What you should care about is when did they buy last from you? How often have they bought from you? when did they last visit, for example, if you are having an outlet. So that behavioral data is what should be what is going to drive actions for.
Absolutely. And that economics of the community, right, are compelling because referred customers have 16% higher lifetime value, then they are 18% less likely to churn. So the referral marketing costs around 3 to 5 times less than your paid advertising. So the word of mouth does play a big role. Focus
Yeah.
on that. Build good relationship with your customer, earn their trust by delivering quality service, and follow this framework that we are saying, right? Uh, Again, there was, I mean, we mentioned this, we're mentioning this research again and again, that Wharton School research. It does show the refer customers have 16% higher LTV,
Mm.
uh, that like long term value, 25% larger initial purchase, and 37% stronger retention. So basically, that research does found out that investing a $153 per year per community member, uh, you know, receive around $682 per year in return. So that's a 4.5 times X ROI.
No, in
Just
fact,
let that sink in.
yeah,
4.5 times ROI is huge.
yeah. So that's actually a research that that data point is strongly advocating that our engaged community pillar here. So we spoke
Yeah.
about the WhatsApp groups earlier. You can just build a WhatsApp group for your top customer. It's not complicated to do that. It could be a
Hmm.
coffee shop, in your neighborhood that that created a WhatsApp group for regulars. It gave them early access to new roasts, and then 40% of their customers, regular customers, joined, and their frequency started going up. So even in the research that you quoted, just building that community or engaging your regular customer community is going to give you significantly higher returns on repeat business. So that's the powerful way of engaging with your community and actually gaining from that. Then we move to
Hmm.
the fifth pillar here called automate loyalty. So what you can do in this is you can deploy a loyalty tool. Now tools like Square Loyalty, they start at as low as $45 a month, or Yuki Loyalty, which digitizes your stamp card into Apple or Google wallets. They are perfected for small hospitality outlets like cafes and salons. Um, Joy Rewards is another one that has a free tier for e-commerce up to 150 orders. So there are various tools out there in the market which you can readily deploy, easily adapt, and that's in that whole experience of buying. You can package it well. You can automate that entire process and keep customers loyal to you.
Absolutely. And that, as you mentioned that, Shantru, here I want to mention the psychology also. It's here. It's very important.
Mm.
The three levels, right? The loss aversion. This basically tell customer their point expires in 30 days, and then they watch them come back. And then the second one is the reciprocity. Basically, surprise them with an unexpected bonus points, and then they feel obligated to return,
Mm.
right? And we've seen in many cases, when you give them a good surprising with some bonus point, yeah, they like that, and then they're more likely to come back again. Third one is the status effects. Basically, you are creating a gold member tier, and then people will consolidate their spending with you just to keep their status. So basically, all these miles, right, you get with airlines, um, those are one example of that.
Mm.
Uh, One quick nugget we would like to share is the Interview's Global Customer Loyalty Report 2025. It does show some loyalty programs a return in average of 5.2 times ROI. That's huge. And then the members spend 58% more than non-members. So, and the 65% of those customers have switched brands because loyalty programs fail to deliver. So the execution in this case does matter as much as
as
design.
much as the design. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well put. All right. So the last pillar here in this framework is what we are calling track and iterate. That's the T in the template framework. So again, if you're not measuring, you're guessing. As simple as that. You should have, let's say, at least four minimum KPIs, key performance indicators. You can have customer retention rate, repeat purchase rate. You can have customer lifetime value and net promoter score. Just these four KPIs. Uh, set them up and review them periodically. Let's say you can do it every quarter,
Absolutely.
right? And kill what doesn't move the needle. Just get over that and focus on things that are actually making an impact through this measurement system.
For the love of all those things, you can track this in a Google Sheet, right? And you don't need a 5 lakh analytical analytics platform, right? Your POS data or a WhatsApp broadcast list or your email open rates, that is your data. You can use that.
It is. It is. All
Let's
right.
go into the next slide.
Yes. All right. So here we wanted to deep dive into the churn issue that we spoke about earlier, because
Mhm.
again, we know that knowing a disease or diagnosing a disease well is half the cure. So here we looked at data from across sectors, and the top churn driver, the top reason why customers are leaving is consistently the same across sectors. It is poor customer service. That's period. That's the topmost reason. uh, the variance is just in how much uh, that is in each sector, how many customers in each sector. Like in retail, it's 39%. In food and
Mhm.
beverages, it's 42%. In services,
Mhm.
professional services, it was 45%. So the scale might vary a little bit, but it's still the topmost reason why customers are leaving across sectors.
And if you notice something, it's not a price, right? It's a price to value mismatch that comes in a second across the board.
Hmm.
But interestingly, it's always lower than service quality.
Hmm.
So the retail is 35%, F&B is 28%, and the services is always it's somewhere around 22%.
And again, this connects to a framework uh, that has been around since the 1980s, but it is still the best diagnostic tool out there. It is what we have mentioned here, the circle model. It has five dimensions of service failure, and every company owner should know about this circle model. It's a very good way of looking at how good is your service quality and what you can do
Yeah,
if you find it's not that it's failing somewhere. What can you do to identify those gaps and improve on that?
absolutely. So let's run through them quickly. Uh, First one is reliability. Like basically, what it says, can you do what you promised, right? Your promise, your specs of the product. Can you deliver to that spec? If you say deliver in 3 days, does it come in 3 days? Broken promises basically kill the trust instantaneously. Instantly, right? The second one is the responsiveness. How fast do you respond? So when a customer sends a WhatsApp message, say suppose at 10 a.m., do they hear back from you in 10 minutes or 10 hours?
Hmm.
That matters. Responsiveness does matter. Third one is the assurance. Basically, does your staff know what they're talking about,
Hmm.
right? Does the customer feel confident that you are competent enough to handle my request or to handle my query, right? Uh, so that does boils down to your customer retention.
Hmm.
Empathy is the next one. Do you actually care about your customer, or are they just a transaction number? Think about it. It's a deeper issue, but are you paying enough attention to how you treat your customer?
Hmm.
The last one is a tangible. Basically, what does the experience look like and feel like? Your store, your website, your packaging, all that matters in this tangible.
Right.
So there's quick insight. Survey called model was developed by Parasoraman, uh, Zatemi, and Berry. We'll put those links also in the appendix section. Basically, it measures the gap between your customer expectations and actual service delivery. And despite being nearly 40 years old, no superior diagnostic framework has replaced it for frontline service assessment. Why does it matter? Because all these things, right? RR, A, E, T,
Hmm.
that fits into that framework. And that's why we are giving you that insight
Yeah.
that if you control these top five things, you are actually getting control of your customer. Your customer acquisition would go higher.
Right. It's indeed a very powerful tool, and I have also had experience using it in some of my earlier projects. Even with large companies, it's not just about SMEs. It is applicable for all sorts of companies, basically every company, because at the end of the day what you're doing is you're interacting with the customer in some shape and form, and this framework
Absolutely.
is asking you to look at these five specific aspects of the interaction and improve upon that. And if you take an India context for this, for Indian MSMEs, the reliability and responsiveness dimensions are the ones where the biggest gaps exist. Just think about, as a consumer, as a customer, think about how many businesses promise same day dispatch when you're ordering online. Uh, they on their website, they have put that in bold upfront, saying that you will get the product in the same day, and after you order, more often than not, the product arrives 2 or 3 days later instead of same day. Or you have customers who are claiming that they are very responsive, and they have put out this number saying reach out to us on this number and we'll answer all your queries. And when you actually dial that number, all it does is it goes to voicemail. So that's a big issue currently with Indian MSMEs, particularly
Yeah,
reliability and responsiveness.
absolutely. And here is a scary part about the Indian MSME specifically. Uh, as we mentioned that research, right? MSMEs with under 10 employees, they do face annual customer churn rates of nearly 69%.
Now, yeah,
So
69%.
yeah, for a company of below 10 employees.
Right. So I think essentially it means that you are replacing 7 out of 10 customers every year.
Yeah,
That's not a business. It's a sort of a leaky bucket that you are trying to fill
hmm,
with a garden hose. So,
the garden hose, absolutely. But we have given enough bad news to them. But let's hear about the good news, right? Indian MSMEs, they have successfully integrated into digital platform. Let's suppose e-commerce or WhatsApp business or digital payments. They does show exceptional resilience. So the 90% reported sustained sales growth and lower attrition after going digital. So your digital transformation does matter. We've covered this podcast before in our one of our episode. Why this digital transformation is imperative for your growth,
mm,
and the number does speak for itself, right?
so the pathway is clear. The digital tools exist. The cost is minimal. The gap if at all, it lies in the execution and awareness of those tools. And that's
Hmm.
exactly what we are here for, what the podcast is for.
Okay, let's get into the some practical side of this, right?
Mm,
Uh, there are four tactical tools you can deploy right now, not next quarter. I mean now,
mm,
right? The first one is the service recovery SOPs,
mm,
standard operating procedure. So Shantanu, you and I both know most SMBs they handle complaints on a gut feeling, but you know what they do lack. Most of them, not all of them, I'm saying,
mm.
but do they have a standard operating procedure?
Correct.
Like owner gets involved, there is a lot of back and forth, and every complaint gets handled differently, right? And it's not efficient for a owner to be involved in every damn time, right? Whenever the customer complains, is you gotta develop some standard operating procedure. How do you handle your customer complaints? How do you handle your customer calls? Things like that, right?
And that, if the owner is getting involved, then obviously uh, that person is not going to be able to deliver on that consistently, right? There are going to
Yeah.
be inconsistencies in that, and that is where the real problem lies. So an SOP,
Yes.
having an SOP is actually going to help you achieve that consistency. And here's
100%.
what a good SOP should look like for, let's say, a team of 120 people. So the first step, uh, as you see here, is you should acknowledge a customer complaint within 2 hours. Even if you don't have a solution handy or a solution ready, tell the customer that you have at least heard them. Make them feel heard. That's step one. You have got to do it ASAP. As soon as you receive the complaint, within 2 hours, let the customer know that you have heard. Step two, resolve that within 24 hours. Again, there are 90% of the times it is possible to have a resolution in that time frame, that turnaround time less than 24 hours. Why it does not happen most of the times is exactly what you mentioned, Aniket. It's the whole bureaucracy of the front line trying to reach the back end and the leadership to see if they can do something to resolve the issue or not. So if you authorize your frontline resources to offer compensation up to a certain preset limit, let's say a 500 rupee voucher or a 10% of order value, whatever that you will work that out based on what your business is and what your ticket sizes are. But the frontline resources should have that authority. They need not wait for manager approval to provide that resolution within 24 hours. And then step three, follow up after 48 hours. So just give a call, send a note asking them, we are just trying to check in, is everything working well now? That follow up, you will not, you'll always underestimate the power of that follow up. It's a great tool to convert the customer completely in your favor. That's where the real magic
Yes.
happens.
And you got a track rate, right? As I think you mentioned earlier,
Hmm.
that a simple Google sheet with a date, customer, issue, resolution, follow up, done, yes or no. Simple columns, right? Like that. That will help tremendously. That's your complaint track. And see, remember, whatever you measure gets improved. If you don't measure it, if you don't track it, it's never gonna improve,
Correct.
right?
Absolutely. Right, and then tool number two here is the personalization engine. Again, start by segmenting your customers into, let's say, three buckets. VIP customers, those are your top 20% by revenue, the platinum tier of your customers. At risk customers, customers whose purchase frequency has dropped in the last whatever amount of time that you are tracking, and it has lapsed. They haven't bought in, let's say, 60 to 90 days, depending on your cycle. So that's the
Right,
at risk customer segment for you.
100%. And then those each buckets gets different treatment, right? VIPs get early access, personal thank you notes from the founder also, or let's suppose birthday offers, right? So the at-risk customers they get a "we miss you" message or with a
Mm,
specific relevant offer. So the lapsed customer get a win back campaign, but only once. And if they don't respond, move on.
mm,
That's it. Go on. Yeah, that's fine. I think we mentioned this research before, but yeah,
yeah. So, again, for Indian SMEs, there is an India friendly stack as well. So you have the WhatsApp Business API through AI Sensi or Bati for messaging. You have HubSpot free CRM for tracking, MailChimp free tier for email. So it doesn't take much. It probably takes most of the platforms, or at least the initial features, in that the base features of these tools and platforms is free. But even if you are going for a paid version, it's usually within 5,000 rupees a month uh, for
yeah,
all these personalization engines. So it doesn't take much. Go for it, start using them, and start setting that SOPs. I'm sure you'll see good value out of that.
absolutely. All right, let's talk about the tool three, which is community-led growth, which is also very important. Like this is where the Indian businesses they have a natural advantage
Mm,
because in India in business the relationship matters, right? So you can use this tagline like we are a relationship-driven culture. You
yeah,
can use that,
yeah.
right?
And again, as we are constantly saying, you could do it using simple tools. You could build a WhatsApp community for your top customers, uh, not a broadcast list, an actual community, an actual group where people can talk. Uh, they can share their experiences. They can share with behind the scenes. You can share behind the scenes content with them. You can give them early access to new products, ask their opinions about a new product that you have recently launched, make them feel like insiders, make them feel like they're part of the journey. They have stakes on the table with you.
Absolutely. So and pair that with a referral program, right? Refer a friend, or you both get $200 off, 200 rupees off. The data does show that referring customer costs 60 to 90% less
Mm.
to acquire than a paid advertising customers.
Okay. And then we have the fourth tool here, the loyalty program launch. So again, you don't have to over design for it. You don't have to overthink this. Uh, a digital stamped card is enough to start with. Let's say every 10th purchase that you make with us is going to be free. Let that card say that. It works because it's a psychological principle called endowed progress effect. Again, a well-researched consumer behavior aspect, which says that when people feel that they have already started toward a goal, they are more motivated to complete it. Right? So you are putting that at the 10th purchase, at a certain purchase. Once consumers know that, they are motivated to reach that milestone. And that's just psychology that we are using to improve customer retention.
Absolutely. So for Indian SMBs specifically, the Loopy loyalty is an excellent tool because it works through Apple and Google wallets, right? You don't need to download any app, and that eliminates the biggest friction point, which is getting someone to download yet another app.
Hmm.
Right? So let's look into the next slide, Shantanu, risk and
Yes.
mitigation.
Yes.
I know I'm just watching out the time also. There's 7 minutes left,
All right.
so we can just skim through it and then spend too much like some time more on the 30, 60, 90-day plan. I think we already discussed some of these risks anyway, but we can just skim through it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the key one here, we can just probably talk about the critical one,
Yeah,
that we touched upon briefly. The
sure.
critical one here is discount addiction, right? So
Hmm,
we can, let's talk about that, and then we can go to the 30-60-90 framework.
sure.
Right?
So the one with the discount addiction, right? That is a trap where you train your customers to only buy during promotions.
Mm,
Uh, so you start offering 10% off to bring people back, uh, and it does sometimes work. So you do it again and again, and suddenly your customers won't buy it at full price ever.
right.
So you gotta be very careful about discount addiction.
Right. It is a, sort of a self killer, and there is enough
Yeah,
and more evidence that is unambiguous. Um,
yeah,
Studying, there was a study by Science Direct in 2024. They studied a major Japanese retailer and found that promotional incentives had no positive effect on increasing customer LTV, lifetime value. In fact, customers who were, acquired through promotions showed particularly low lifetime value. So, even though apparently you might feel that discounts is all what customers need, the lowest price, or high discounts is what attracts them. You might see that as an initial effect, but that is not going to keep the customer with you. uh, they that again, enough and more evidence and studies that have happened in the past to show that you can attract the customer once with high discounts, but you cannot retain them. The customer lifetime value is going to deplete if you're just playing on discounts.
absolutely.
So,
And I think the other risk that we already, I think the balance sheet liability, uh, we did discuss in other podcast. But it's pretty straightforward. You gotta watch your financial liability.
mm,
Uh, don't try to overestimate your balance sheet strength. You gotta watch. You have to focus on your some fundamental numbers, and don't over promise your customers deliver something. The program cost overrun and data privacy. I think data privacy is the one that we already had covered in previous podcast.
mm.
So nothing to touch on that. What do you think? Shall we go to the next slide, or
Yes, let's talk
is
about
that
the 30, 60-day, the 90-day
sure?
roadmap. I think that's where again the practicality of things lies. That's the action plan. Three phases,
Sure.
clear deliverables, no fluff. We always have that 30, 60, 90 outlook in all our podcasts, and we also have it here. So we'll go through that quickly. Phase one, lesson and baseline. The motto that you should have in this is know your leaks. Your only job in the first 30 days is to understand what's happening, where are the gaps, where is the customer experience getting impacted the most. That's what you need to do in the first 30 days.
Yes. So there are three key activities. First one is run a churn audit, pull your sales data from your last 12 months, and then find out who stopped buying, when, and what was the last thing they bought. I think those are enough data for you
Mm,
to you can understand the patterns. The second one is the deploy a one question post purchase survey. Basically, you are asking how easy was it to buy from us and get your issue resolved.
mm,
Ask that question to your customer, get that feedback. That's your customer effort score, ES, and then put that in the Google form. It's a free, right? Third one is this is the most important one. Basically, pick up the phone and talk to your five customers you lost, basically who left you, and five of your best customers. So you kind of get worst and best of it, and then ask them directly, what would you make uh, what would you make you come back more often, and what almost made you leave.
right,
Those two questions gives you insights of what they why they like you or why they don't like you,
right.
right? uh, so track that. put that in the Google sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the end of the first phase, at the end of 30 days, the output should be a risk exposure report in a way. So with that, you'll now know where you are leaking, how badly, and why you're leaking. What are the reasons why customers are leaving, and the real again in the real world scenarios, like there has been research that 44% of businesses they still don't calculate their retention rates. That's coming from
No.
an agency called Customer Gauge, and it's as recent as 2025. And
Okay.
43% of SMB customers, their losses for them occur in the first quarter post purchase. So the first 90 days
Wow.
after acquisition,
44.
that's the highest leverage window. Yes, 43% in the first 90 days itself. That's where the leakage is happening.
Hmm. All right, let's look into the phase two, which is the build and pilot. That is basically you're spending your second month, 31 to 60 days. Motto is here is fix the friction. Now you take what you learn and act on it. Simple as that.
Correct. Now again, three key activities in that. First, deploy your service recovery SOPs. Train your team
Uh-huh.
on that. Just write down a three-step flow and authorize your frontline resources for compensation. That is non-negotiable because that's where the customer is having the most important touch points. Second is launch a pilot loyalty and referral program with your top customer segments. Again, not everyone, just start with a smaller set of customers, a smaller group, just the VIP customers, let's say, and test it there and learn from it and then deploy it for a wider set of customers if it works in
100%.
that way.
100%.
And then the third tool in this particular phase, or the third activity in this particular phase, is going to be launching your personalized campaigns. Uh, in
Yes.
the segments that you have created or segmented your customer base, uh, the VIP and at risk or the lapsed customer framework, send each group a different message. Measure the open rates of those messages or click rates of those messages, and most importantly, the repeat that purchase within 14 days. uh,
14 days.
who as in track that particular KPI, who is repeating business out of those different segments within the next 14 days. That's going to give you
Yes.
some very powerful insights.
And the deliverable at the end of the 60 days is repeat framework live. Your system is operational, at least in a pilot mode.
Correct. And then you can go to phase 3. That's the third month, 61 to 90 days, where you are scaling and optimizing the work that you have done in the first two phases. Again, the motto here should be measure and multiply.
And there are three key activities underneath it. First one is run a cohort analysis. Compare your customer behavior before and after your interventions. And ask this question: did repeat purchase rate go up? If the repeat purchase rate does not go up, why do we deep dive into that? And then, did your average order value change?
Mm,
Those are the fundamental questions we need to ask. Second one, go launch your community, open that WhatsApp group, to your 50 customers. Host your first small event. It could be a product review or a feedback session or a simple meetup, right? Take talk to your customer and get that insights from them. Third one is the institutionalize a quarterly review board. This is important because your operation lead, and anyone who touches the customer gotta sit down for every 90 days and review the numbers, review your KPIs, what worked, what did not, what do we start, or continue.
mm,
Simple as that.
right. And the deliverable here again in this phase is going to be your retention engine is now up and running, in full force. It's operating now. It's not perfect at this point, but it's operating, and the it is going to keep improving every quarter. So you follow up with that
Yes.
relentlessly after you have set all these things up, and you should see improvement every quarter going ahead.
And then one critical success factor we want to flag by day 7 is assign a retention champion. This is that person, one person who owns the entire roadmap, right? Your operation lead or a finance lead, whoever that might be. Without a single owner, this effort dies in the committee.
Mm.
So always remember that. Okay. Let's get into our final slide and it's time to wrap up our podcast.
Yeah.
Uh,
So we'll
so yeah,
leave you with some numbers here, uh, because at the end of the day, it has to make financial sense, right? So let's talk about hard numbers.
yeah. So let's walk through a word work example. Imagine you run a 1 crore annual revenue business. Let's say suppose with the 500 customers. That's an average of 20,000 rupees per customer per year,
And let's say your
right?
churn rate right now is 20%, which means you're losing 100 customers per year. That
Mm-hmm.
at a customer acquisition cost of 5,000, replacing those 100 customers is going to cost you 5 lakh rupees plus
Yes,
the 20 lakhs in lost revenue.
lost revenue.
Correct.
Yeah. And now you invest that 2 lakh rupees per year in a retention system, basically like a CRM software or a loyalty platform and staff training program, feedback tools,
And then
anything like that, right?
that investment, even if it improves your retention by just 5%. So instead of losing 100 customers, you're losing, let's say, 75 customers. That's 25
Yeah,
customers saved.
correct. So the math is here. Let me break it down. 25 retained customers times 20,000 rupees, which is an average revenue, which equals to 5 lakh in preserved revenue. And the 25 fewer customers to acquire multiplied by 5,000 CAC, which is customer acquisition cost, brings out 1.25 lakh rupees in acquisition saving.
Mm.
Now, if you sum up all that plus upscale potential and you subtract the retained customer, spend 67 more over time, that's basically your another 2 to 3 lakh.
2 to 3 lakhs, right? So the total gains here, it comes to roughly 8 to 9 lakhs on a 2 lakh investment. So just think about it.
Yeah,
It's 3 to 4x returns on a very conservative basis. Right? There's actually again a research that shows a, a company, a dollar 1 million revenue, small company, $1 million turnover, they achieved 209% ROI on a $25,000 retention investment. Right? So uh, again, that it confirms the broader pattern that loyalty programs, they average 5.2x ROI. Now,
yeah,
of course, the one shipment rule applies. A single retained high value customer often pays for the entire year's compliance infrastructure. So, just one large customer or key customer that you retain is likely to pay for that investment that you are making in the retention tools.
yes. And that's a conservative math, right? We haven't even counted the referral value of your happy customer
Hmm.
or reduced support cost from your loyal customer who know your product or the price premium that trusted the brands can charge.
Correct. All right.
So yeah,
So the one line that we want to leave you with is retention is not a cost center; it's a profit protection mechanism. So again,
absolutely.
that's a mentality shift that you need to have. Don't look at it as a cost that you're making. It's actually an investment into developing a mechanism that's going to safeguard your profits. Right. So
All right,
let's go to the
let's
next
wrap
one
up.
and wrap it up.
Yeah. So in summary, I think we showed you the math, right? Why retention beats acquisition 5 to 25 times over. We did show you the silent killer also. More than half of your unhappy customers live without a word. And we also gave you the repeat framework. Repeat framework, 6 pillars you can deploy with affordability and then Indian friendly tools.
And we gave you 4 practical tools to do that: service recovery SOPs, personalization, community building, and loyalty programs. We spoke about briefly about the risks. discount addiction being the most critical one. But then you also have cost overruns and data privacy that you need to look after and avoid those particular risks. And then finally, we gave you the 30, 60, 90-day plan, the framework to move from a leaky bucket to a loyalty machine.
Yes. So here is your homework for you SMBs. I know I'm trying to be teacher, but not. Just like this is a fun exercise to do. Before our next episode, find out your what is your retention rate. Right? Take that number of customers at the end of the last quarter, subtract the new customers you acquired during that quarter, and divide that number you start by the number you started with. Right? Whatever the customer number you have started initially, divide that number with that and then multiply by 100.
Mhm.
That one number will tell you more about the health of your business than any
Mm,
revenue figure period.
absolutely. And if that number scares you, that's good because then you're paying attention. And when you come back next time on our next episode, you give us that number and we'll help you fix it.
Absolutely. So you found this valuable, share it with the one SMB owner who need it, not 10, not just one, let's say, but the more the merrier, right? Uh, the person you know who's spending all their energy chasing new customers while the existing ones slip away.
Right. Now, as they say, the best marketing strategy is not just getting new customers, it's keeping the ones you already have happy so that they do the marketing for you. You don't have to spend time and effort in marketing yourselves. Your customers are going to do that for you. That's what we want to leave you with. Think about that.
Very well said. Chandru, very well said. All right, everyone. Until next time, this is Aniket.
And this is Shantanu. Thank you. Let's keep building. Let's keep solving one problem at a time. And you know, if you find this useful, share it with your peers. And just remember that uh, every returning customer is a vote of confidence in your business. So every returning listener for us is also a vote of confidence in our podcast. So if you want to hear more from us on such important topics that are affecting your business on a daily basis, keep coming back to us through your feedbacks, through your comments, through your likes, shares, and subscribes. And we'll work together on solving every problem that you have.
All right, everyone. See you next time on Where Strategy Meets Execution. See
Yes.
you there.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day. Take care.